Is it like National Coffee Day, or is it just?
Honestly, every day is coffee day.
Well, you can say that again.
Yeah, it is. I don't know what they call it other than coffee day.
So it's National Coffee Day, and you came in drinking water? I don't understand.
Well, I
Why
had a
didn't
cup
you
of
tell me
coffee
about
back there
this?
on my desk. I've had so
okay.
much coffee already this morning.
You've been up since 3 a.m.
No, but 4:30 for real.
4:30. I really wish. Can you teach me the secret of getting up early? Did you always get up this early, or is it just now in your dotage?
Well, I never slept late. I was
Yeah.
always up by 6. My daddy wouldn't let you stay in bed. I mean, he came by about 6 o'clock in the morning,
He's like, half the day's gone, son.
burning daylight.
You're burning. And you're like, Dad, it's dark out.
Yeah, well, he felt like you were gonna turn out to be lazy if you stayed in bed to 6 o'clock in the morning, beyond 6 o'clock in the morning.
It's been ever since I started seminary. I've got up early in the morning.
Yeah.
But I can't.
Is that your good study time?
Yeah.
Is that the rhythm for
it is.
you?
Yeah, for me it is. It has to be. It's been. But I was talking to my wife about this. I'm in a slump right now.
Are you?
I'm in a waking up and study slump. Yeah. I don't know what.
Are you tired of it or not doing it?
No. I like it.
Oh,
I just
oh.
can't. I
I
just
do
can't
too.
get up. There's something. I got to start. Maybe I need to start going to bed even earlier. But I wake up. Like today, I slept in till 5:45, and I was like, man, I missed out on a lot of my time.
I can get a lot more done early in
Yeah.
the morning.
You and me have had some great texting conversations early in the morning.
Yeah, I can get a lot more done. Morning is my good time. But Mondays are just filled with meetings in the
I
morning.
know.
Really, you should move those things to the afternoon when you don't need as much brain power.
Well, and I do that on purpose. I've told Dylan about this because it's like, unless I have a meeting, sometimes I can't get anything done. You know what I mean? Like I just sit there like, I don't even know what to do. I'm like brain dead. I want to take a nap.
Yeah.
And Jeff will not let us sleep in our offices. I don't know what
that's sad.
It's just the amount of
It's
oppression,
sad.
the oppression that's in this.
I know.
In this place is really something.
He told us Sunday that the beatings will continue until the morale improves.
Until the morale improves.
I love that saying.
Thank you, sir. May I have another?
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think it makes me happier.
Morning. It's the Stockholm syndrome.
Oh gosh.
Yeah. We love our overlords here, or whatever you're supposed to say. Yeah.
Our
Early
Siths.
early in the morning. That's the way to get stuff done. If you want to.
I do. I was up at 4:30 this morning, and
What were you working on? Anything
well,
in
really
particular?
going back, I was rereading what we're going to go through because we're going to go through this book, or through the chapters of it here, just the guys.
That
at
is
9
going to be
o'clock.
cool. So I guess first I need to call you out. Like you just said you don't like meetings, but you just added another meeting to
Well,
the calendar.
yeah, but this will be a worthwhile
It will
thing
be.
to get together and go through Comer's book on discipleship.
I'm excited about it.
Yeah, it's good. He's really thought-provoking. I have to just stop and think, now, do I agree with him, with what he's saying here?
Well, sometimes those are the best studies if you
Yeah.
don't agree with everything.
Yeah.
You have to be able to articulate the ways you interact with
I
it.
think it's the way he says things that make you stop and think, well, really, he's right about that. And, anyway, I look forward to it.
That's gonna be
We're
good.
getting the guys together just to do that.
We're gonna try to
be
do
there
it.
25 minutes
Yeah.
on Monday mornings. So we got to get in there and throw it down and
Cut all the fat out, right?
Yeah,
We're just
yeah.
going to talk about the book, and then
Yeah.
we'll get it. Yeah, because we got all staff meeting today. That's a
do.
big.
we do.
Yeah, is Jeff here for that, or is he
No,
skipping it again?
Jeff is with some members. They're
Oh, really?
out doing something today.
Oh, okay.
I can't remember what it is. Something they do every year
All right.
here in town, but it's with some members.
I was just joking. I figured he'd be there. Well, that's fine. It'll still be a good morning.
Dave, I think, is gonna.
Dave runs a tight ship.
Yeah,
That'll be a lot of
It's
fun.
gonna be his circus today,
he'll be the one
and
to
we
hold
are his
court.
monkeys. Yeah,
He'll be the one to
He'll
hold
be
court.
holding court today.
We had a great day yesterday.
Mm.
We had those. I tell you, it's always so special when you get those family baptisms. John Sistrunk baptizing
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
his
his
granddaughter.
granddaughter. Yeah.
And they had a huge contingent of people there sitting over in the
did.
baptism, the de facto baptism section.
Mm-hmm.
And then Corey, I think that was Corey's first
Baptism. Yeah.
Since he's been here. I know he's baptized people before. And that young girl, Jaden,
Yeah.
what a wonderful success,
yeah.
good success from the Spirit.
Another youth talked to her, shared with her,
brings her to church.
You know. It's a great story. He's got 2 to baptize this coming Sunday, and I've got 2 to baptize.
I know, it's a whole big
and
family.
a husband and a wife.
The Richardson family,
Yeah,
I believe.
yeah.
They're all coming together.
Yeah.
My wife's actually really excited about this for different reasons, because that's the family that's going to take over her teaching the 4th graders.
Oh, is that right?
Yes.
And so she's been teaching them. Your wife?
Yes, she's ever since Miss Ann Odom retired. I think it was 3 or 4 years ago. My wife has been the 4th grade Sunday school teacher, and she does a great job with it. I'm super proud of her. She's great. But yeah, so she needs to go on some maternity leave. She is great with child, as they say. Yeah, she's ready to slow down. She's ready to slow down a little bit.
I bet.
The baby's coming next month.
The baby's next month.
Yeah,
in November.
No, in October. It's not quite.
Oh, in
not quite
October?
Yeah, October the 20th.
Is it still September?
Just barely. Today's the 30th. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can still say no. So less than a month from now, we should have a baby. Maybe I'll just bring the baby here. I won't go on paternity leave. I'm not lazy. I'll bring the baby in here and just, I'll just still do the podcast.
Yeah.
It'll be good. Maybe it'll be during her
That'd
nap
be
time.
good. Yeah.
So
put a bassinet in your office.
So yesterday at the end, we'll get to the message itself. That's a good idea. See, this is what you did to me yesterday. So yesterday at the end of the service, and Pastor and I, it's no secret that we enjoy some good-natured ribbing. And so in the first service, I gave Pastor a hard time because he told people to register to vote, which we might need to talk about that later. And then at the end, he turns back to me and he's saying, so, you take it from here, brother. And I'm like, so how about that? Can we write you in to be president? And everybody kind of chuckles and then we leave. But he was ready for me in the second service and turns around, and instead of calling me the minister of music, he calls me...
It was a slip.
It was not a slip.
It was a slip.
You planned it.
It was a Freudian slip.
Okay, that's what it was. The monster of music.
Monster of music.
So I knew that you had that one up your sleeve, but nobody else had ever heard it before. And so, my phone was blowing up the rest of the afternoon.
Was it really?
So I told everybody, so Pastor, you win, you always do. So I told everybody that's my Halloween costume. I got to be the monster of music.
Monster of music. He'll come out with, that hair going up like this, like on Frankenstein.
That's right. Who knows? Jared can figure out how to make me the monster of music in our thumbnail. Yeah, the bolts coming out the side.
Bolts coming out the neck.
That'll be perfect. That reminds me of that funny joke about Mozart. The joke about the guy that's guarding Mozart's grave. Mm-hmm. You've heard that one.
Seems like I have, but I can't remember it.
Well, after Mozart was buried, everyone thinks, well, there's going to be people that are going to come try to rob his grave, so they assign someone to guard it. Yeah. And the guy's sitting there at night, and he keeps hearing this strange, sort of ethereal kind of music. And he's like, what is this? And he brings in a local music expert, and they think about it for a second. They're like, well, son, that's actually Mozart's most famous symphony, but it's being played backwards. And so the guy is like, oh my gosh, what's happening here? Huh. And the expert says, no, don't worry, son. The Mozart's just decomposing.
Oh, my word. Oh, my word. Well, the fact of the matter is we don't know where Mozart is buried. He was buried in an unmarked grave.
That's true. Well, and in the movie Amadeus, it's like a mass grave.
Yeah, that's what they would do with the plague victims. They would just bury them and then pour a little bit of lime on them so they would decompose very, very quickly.
That is one of the most haunting endings to a movie
It
that
really
I've ever
is.
seen.
It is kind of, yuck. Yeah,
is
and to see Salieri age, and he's kind of at the end, and railing still,
good.
and gosh.
Trying to remember what that actor's name is.
I can't remember, but boy, he played a great part. He really did. You said that, it made me think of something else, but I can't think of what it was now.
The unmarked graves.
No. You said Mozart, and then I thought I was thinking of something of Beethoven, but I can't remember now what it was.
Need to get my, well, it's, what was I going to say? Well, both of us are forgetting what to say. I guess that means.
We're getting old.
So the funny thing is that, so I keep hearing from people that join us weekly on, and more I'm hearing people that are split. And I'm serious about this. I have the same number of people that tell me, I've told you this before, they're like, well, I just tune in to hear you guys go at it, and then once the sermon talk starts, I turn it off. And
Do
I'm
they
like,
really?
Some people do. But then other people, they say like, well, I actually fast forward when you guys are just jawing because I just want to hear more about the sermon, which is probably more acceptable.
Well, it's kind of interesting. That's kind of interesting.
But I don't know why. Shame on the both of you, the both sides. You guys should be listening to the whole thing, because that's the only way that we get our ad revenue from YouTube, which keeps the lights on. I'm just kidding. We get zero. I don't think.
Yes.
Jared,
We
is
do
this
not make
this is
anything
not
off of it.
monetized at all. We don't even have advertisements. on
Jared's
this.
been monetizing.
I'll
it.
monetize.
Yeah.
personally.
Jared gets plenty of money in his
I'm
pocket.
believing the ad's gonna come on. I'll be back.
I don't even know, what would they even advertise? Well, Krispy Kreme, they'd
Yeah,
have to advertise. that.
Yeah, today's coffee day,
Right.
which is an everyday thing. Today is Krispy Kreme. That's an everyday.
Another everyday thing.
Today is Andy Griffith Day, which is
No,
an
it's
everyday thing. It is. Those three things right there. That's why the Bible says this is the day which the Lord has made.
Let us rejoice and
And
be glad.
in it.
Yes.
Coffee, Krispy Kreme, Andy.
So the Holy Trinity, if
Yeah.
you will.
Yeah.
Well, I'm rejoicing. We played that new song yesterday.
And it was great.
Rejoice.
That was
I
really
love
good.
That. I love that song.
It's beautiful.
I get it's interesting. You get a totally different perspective as you watch people sing.
Uh-huh.
And I'm always like, I keep an eye out, just kind of trying to get a sense of
Who's singing?
Yeah, well, but especially because I have to be careful to not let my preferences override what is best for the congregation.
Yeah.
Right. Because you know how it is. As a preacher, you do this so well. Sometimes you got to take us a little bit beyond where we are.
Yeah.
But if you just stay where you are the whole time,
yeah,
people,
yeah.
they're not going to totally understand.
Yeah.
So it's the same way with songs, but the funny thing with Rejoice is, like, I can always tell once we get to, like, minute 3, you can sense people are fading a little bit.
Yeah.
And the song's like 4 minutes and 15 seconds long, and man, those last 30 seconds, I can tell people are like, wow, is this really still going? I'm like, yes, it's still going. Again, I say. And you gave me a good, that was the best amen you've ever given me. I was like,
It was
Baptist,
good.
we take the text literally.
Yes.
When it
Amen.
says again, I say, we're going to do it again.
Yeah, yeah.
Why
yeah.
shouldn't we?
That's right.
That's all I had to say about that.
That's interesting, guys. I've never thought about that before.
Which part?
But the last part, that you're watching people and you're sensitive to it, which is great, because I honestly think some people get in the pulpit and they're not sensitive at all to what the people are doing,
Well, there's an advantage to that.
Yeah.
You've got, and you've talked about this before, you can't be dictated by what people think about you.
No, that's for sure.
But there
was a good thing on Facebook, and I don't look at Facebook often, but I get on there once in a while, and there was a clip on there of Harrison Ford, or a statement that he made that was really good about that very thing. I should have taken a picture of it and just read it. There are those that are going to like you, and then there are those that are not. There are those that are going to say good things about you, and then there are those that are not. Then and he goes through a whole litany, and I'm just thinking, I don't know Harrison Ford. I hope he's saved, but I have no idea. But I thought, man, that is so perfect for a Christian's life right there. Is you cannot be wrapped up in what everybody's saying or writing or thinking or their criticisms of you. You have to, he didn't say this, but I'm saying it, you have to be concerned with the audience of one.
That's exactly right. It's a thin distinction, though.
Yes.
Because, obviously, you have to be sensitive to the feedback that you get from the person right
that's
across
right.
from you.
Yeah, you need to take everything everybody says to you.
Yes.
You need to chew on it, but a lot of it you don't need to swallow.
That's a great. Some you need to chew up the meat,
Yep.
spit out the
chew
bones.
Chew on it.
Well, and a big part of that is consider the source.
That's another thing too. If you've got somebody who's just a chronic, You know, they're people that probably never say anything to me much at all, but if they come up and they mention one something that bothers them or concerns them or something, I listen to it.
For sure.
You know, I listen to what they're saying. I'm thinking, this person's not a chronic, every time I've got to
Yeah,
comment on
yeah.
everything kind of deal.
Yeah, you got to be more sensitive to that,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
And then you've got, and we should mention the people that are just wonderful encouragers. You know,
Oh,
they're
yeah.
here. It seems like the Lord has put them there to just like lift you up.
Like
be
you
one
talked
step.
about John Sistron.
Yes,
You know,
I was
John,
thinking about
John
him.
is, you know, when he got through baptizing his granddaughter yesterday, what the comment that he made, he was appealing, you know, from his heart.
Yes, he
Listen,
was.
you know, listen to the sermon, respond to what the Holy Spirit's saying to you. And, you know, you love that. When there's a heartbeat of that flows through a congregation, it's the congregation strong.
I agree. I think that's one of the strengths, like when we can have deacons and elder, you know, people even besides the staff pastors that are there
Yeah.
baptizing, and for them to just say the same thing,
Yeah.
like this is true all the way down. This is just the truth.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that was helpful, ministered to me.
Good. To me as well.
So it was an encouraging day yesterday, and did you want to do you have any other thoughts? You want to dive
you
into
know,
the text
we
here?
can just look at the text back. I had one real brief point, but I
Yeah.
said what I wanted to say about that. The thing that I wanted to get across was these people that come into the
Yeah.
prison, you know, which is the baker and the cupbearer. We really don't know, and I get the sense that this was not a packed out, you know.
Oh, yeah.
It was kind of like the Mayberry jail.
Yeah.
You know, you got an occasional one or two people that are in there. Not like when you got two in this cell and two in this cell.
Well, because you
Yeah.
explained this to us, like how this was a very particular prison.
It was. Well, Scripture keeps referring to it as that. It's the king's prison, which happens to be under Potiphar's house, and it's the place where, you know, we would say federal prisoners are kept awaiting execution, because that's what Potiphar did. He executed them. So most likely they were all moved there or put there, and I doubt that there were many of those of that stature in that country.
I never thought of that, like that basically Joseph is there on death row.
Yeah,
That's
he's
what we
there
would
on death
call it.
row. Yeah, that's why Alexander Edesham, Alfred Edesham, I'm sorry,
Right.
calls him the chief executioner. You know, that's
Potiphar.
what he's responsible for. That's what he does.
So you talked about the particularity of these people that come into Joseph's life. And then I think that one of the most helpful things for me has been you showing the implications of when the Bible says, and the Lord was with him.
Yeah.
The Lord prospered him.
Yeah.
And I liked, you know, definitely some of it is speculation, but you talked about, like, what does that mean? Like, if you're already in a dark place,
Yeah.
what does that mean that the Lord comforted him? You know, you kind of postulated, well, maybe his cell isn't as dark or as damp, or
Yeah.
maybe it doesn't have snakes or bugs or
Or
whatever.
rats in it. Yeah.
I thought that was really
Roaches.
interesting because, how are people seeing, even in that prison, that he's favored?
Mm-hmm.
You know, is there some awe about him? Is it just the way he acts? That was another thing that I love that you brought up. You talked about, I forget what verse it is, how Joseph went to them in the morning after these dreams. That seemed very important.
Yeah, verse 6 of chapter 40, he came to them in the morning, you know, which to me says he gets up and that's the first thing on his mind. Let me go and do my responsibility. Let me go and check on these men. Now, nobody's coming and checking on him, you know, and
Yeah.
that's what I've said, you know. He could have eventually said, listen, I am constantly taking care of everybody.
Right.
I get a day. Today's going to be my day,
Yeah.
you know. And everybody's going to get up and come in here and wait on me today. You know, you don't see that in him. He gets up every morning, goes in,
Yeah.
you know, let's get your food together for the morning. Let's get some water in here for you to wash your face and, you know, do the things that you need to do in the morning to get you prepared for the rest of the day. So it just kind of lets me know when it says that he was up and that was his priority. And he goes in there first thing in the morning to look at his charge, to look at those placed under him.
And that's the important thing, is the understanding that these were under his charge. Like,
Yeah,
he has
they had been placed in his
responsibility.
care. He did. And as I stated, and I think I said it in both services, don't you know these guys were hard to please? You know, outside of the fact that he was a Hebrew and these are Egyptians, he's in their country,
Right.
you know, kind of deal, and they kind of look down on him.
Right.
And they are used to people waiting on their needs. They're very used to that, attending to all their needs because of their position. And I tried to make clear their positions were far greater than what we just simply think of, a baker and a cupbearer.
Yes. I'm glad that you dug into that. That was
So
important.
I wanted people to grasp these were people who had significant positions. They just didn't bake the biscuits and hold the cup. They were far more than that. And they were probably the most trusted two people in the kingdom. So, because they were concerned with what the Pharaoh consumed, and most likely this week, my introduction is going to be famous poisoned people in history.
Oh, wow.
You know, people who have been poisoned down through history. And you begin to see, oh, that's why these people are important here. So, and even that, you know, I could eat something and it not bother me. You could eat it and it may, you know, not sit well with your system. And so, like, the cupbearer and the baker could have tasted what was going to be served to the king, and
Oh,
it didn't
I
bother
see.
their system, but it kind of made him, you know, maybe it gave him a upset stomach or something. And he thought, that's a tad of poison in this
Yeah.
thing. They're trying to kill me.
Right.
Well, how unfair is that? It could be just, you know, your system can't handle that.
That was another big theme of the message that I think that I would agree is very important. This idea that life is
Not fair. It's just not fair because everybody today runs around thinking everybody and everything should cater to me. And if it doesn't, then life is unfair. Oh, you know, give me a break.
Well, that's that's your first impulse as a child, you know, or it seems like children are born with this like proclivity or something towards things being fair. They want things to be balanced, and usually it's because they feel slighted and they want to be. brought up.
Did your mom and dad ever say to you, the world doesn't revolve around you?
Oh, all the time. Yeah.
Well, I got that a
Yeah.
lot. Like, this is not all about you,
Yeah.
buddy, you know, kind of deal. I heard that a number of times from my parents. However, today, parenting is completely different. Now, I know I'm talking to somebody who's got little ones and a baby on the way,
Yeah.
and the other 8 that you have already.
Yes.
So,
Quit
you know,
us.
I think a lot of parents do make everything about the child.
Well, the love that you have for a child is just so intense. You know, it's the kind of I would say especially for a man, you just can't see it coming. You don't bear the child yourself. So when the child is here, it's just like, wow, I can't believe just the bond that have. And so in this cultural context where we find ourselves, in general, like this concept of tough love doesn't really exist. It's like, oh, you want that? Well, the most loving things I can do is just say, you should have whatever you want.
And see, my dad's opinion of that was the opposite, is that I can't give you everything you want
Right.
because I do love you.
Well, and that's certainly how I feel, you know,
Yeah.
like, but praise the Lord, I'm a generation younger than you, but like that is the way that my parents raised me, you know, and you get the sense that is not as prevalent as it used to be. We've talked about this before, you know, people that were closer to the Great Depression, early 20th century, they truly knew what it meant to have like a scarcity mindset.
Right.
What was it like when things actually
Worse.
weren't? Yeah.
We may be about to find that out in this country.
Well, I hope not, Pastor. But
I hope not either. But, you know, they're saying tonight these dock workers are going to go on strike. Everything else is already, you know, inflation. Things are so expensive. If this protest moves forward with all these dock workers, all it's going to do is drive up scarcity, which is going to drive up price. And you've got all these people, because I've been on the phone this morning about 3 different times with pastors up in the mountains. One I just got off the phone with is in Tennessee. The other is in North Carolina. Those places are devastated.
It's
This
really
guy that I
sad.
was just talking to used to be a detective down in Florida on the police force down there. And he said, all my years in Florida of being on the police force and doing hurricanes and all this kind of, he said, I had never seen the amount of destruction that he's pastoring now up in the mountains right there in Tennessee. He says, I've never seen anything like this. He says, he said, I literally had a family sitting in their home who said they heard this unbelievable roaring. And he said they walked out of their house, went out of their house off to the side and saw this wall of water and said they watched their home just get, and he said the only thing that saved them is that they heard it and they went outside.
That is wild.
It is unbelievable. He said they just watched their whole home just go. And they were fortunate enough to get out of it.
Yeah, the flooding really has been unbelievable. And for those people, like, you want to talk about life not being fair.
Yeah.
Like, it just feels so, it's
And
just
in the
catastrophic.
mountains, honestly, who has flood insurance? Because you're on the side of a mountain, you think it's not going to flood up here.
And somehow it did.
And it's devastated now. It's really kind of, it's tragic. It's just heartbreaking. My wife is just so torn up. Of course, our hometown, Greenwood, South
Yeah.
Carolina, is in terrible shape.
Oh, no.
And she still has family there. I've got some extended family that is there. But, her sister and her husband is disabled. He's had a stroke. And
Oh, wow.
they're completely cut off. They can't get out their driveway because trees are down. I think they still have water, but they have no power. This guy was telling me, he said, we can't drink the water up here.
Are you going to go out there, or are we sending a team? What's going to happen?
There are those that are in the church that are on the disaster relief.
Yeah.
The food trucks, Becky, Noland, Becky Noland. I have to go through. We got Nola's and we got Nolan's.
I know. It's
Becky Noland heads up and does the food trucks, and Joe and Elena Long, they work with the chainsaw crew.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, they need.
Yeah, if they give me a chainsaw, let me go. I'd go.
That's what I'm
But
talking
see,
about.
they will not let me have a chainsaw. They will not say, Pastor, here's your chainsaw.
Well,
You give me one of those big ones. Man, I'd be out there.
life's not fair, Pastor.
I know it.
It's just a shame they won't give you a chance.
I just want a chainsaw. Y'all remember that old country song? I'm gonna go
Pike.
get my chainsaw
I'm gonna go get my chainsaw. It must have been before his time.
and cut that tree down. How we carved our initials in that tree. You remember that old song? We carved it. Then you left me. I'm going to get my chainsaw.
When you get into, listen, did you just make this up?
No,
that's a real song.
Oh, it's a great song. Chainsaw.
I cannot.
My
You get into country music. Listen, I want to spar with you. I want to go toe to toe. You get into country music. I'm kind of lost.
Oh, now I know. I have discovered Kirkwood's kryptonite.
Okay, well I'm
Country music.
gonna have to get online and start studying up, so I can know what to talk about.
Well, the whole thing. Let me sum this up because we're going to have to go.
Yeah, we do.
The whole thing was basically, do you
Yeah.
ever notice the people that God puts around you? I mean, these two guys just don't show up there arbitrarily. They're brought in and then they are placed under the care of Joseph is to care for them. He is in the position that they've been in the position to Pharaoh. He's kind of put in that position. And there's a reason why God puts them there.
Yes.
And there's a reason why Joseph is in there.
So you're going to come up. You're going to get deeper into chapter 40. We're going to see these dreams and the interpretation. Joseph's going to be. So you're getting close to the point where, and this goes back to the Joseph project, where Joseph is placed over Egypt.
Yeah.
We start talking about because we talked so much about the Joseph project for those couple of months. Well, it's coming back in a big way, in a big part of this series.
Yeah. We're just inching up towards all of that, building the story.
Big month of October coming up. Will lead up to October 20th is Family Sunday. That's also Discover Valleydale. And I know we've had a lot of new people come to the church, so we're going to talk more about that, Discover Valleydale, so people get signed up for it. You can always sign, if you ever want to sign up for anything, it's valleydale.org/events. And if you already have the app, it's in there as well. So I'm going to talk more about that this Sunday. I'm going to do some live announcements this Sunday.
Oh, live.
Live.
Wow.
People won't know what to do.
No, they will not.
I'm going to start calling out people as they come in late, you know. So, you didn't even hear the first announcement because you weren't here. Oh, you don't like this? Well, life's not fair. Welcome to Valleydale. It'll be great. Joanna's on sabbatical, so we can do whatever we want.
Hey, you know, she was going to the mountains. I hope she wasn't up in the mountains when all that happened.
Well, I don't
Has
think
anybody heard from her?
Through the 15th.
Yeah, she's got a little bit of time.
Okay.
She's got a little bit. Hopefully they'll clean it up by then.
Yeah.
Or maybe she has a chainsaw.
Maybe they do.
Who knows?
Maybe that's a family of chainsaws.
Say goodbye, Pastor.
Goodbye, Pastor.